Jake Morrison had been building his cabin for 3 months when the inspector arrived. The foundation was solid, the walls were true, and the roof could handle Montana snow measured in feet, not inches. Jake had done everything by the book, learned from YouTube videos and library manuals, consulted with old-timers at the hardware store. Everything except one thing. The wood stove sat in the corner. Inspector Bill Hendricks stood in the center of the unfinished great room, clipboard in hand, shaking his head with the weary disappointment of a man who'd seen too many dreamers make the same mistakes. "Can't pass this," he said, tapping his pen against the stove's location. "Stove needs to be central. Heat distribution, efficiency, basic thermal dynamics. You put it in the corner, you're gonna freeze on the far side of the room and roast on the near side. This is amateur hour, son." Jake had expected this. Everyone who'd visited had said the same thing. His brother, an engineer, had drawn diagrams. His father, a retired contractor, had actually laughed. Even sweet old Mrs. Patterson from the lumber yard had clucked her tongue and said, "Bless your heart, but that's not gonna work." "I understand," Jake said quietly. "But I need it there." "Need or want?" Bill's eyebrows rose. "Because moving it now means replumbing your chimney, repositioning your hearth pad, recalculating your clearances. You're looking at 2 weeks of work and $3,000 you probably don't have." "I know. Then why in God's name would you do this?" Jake looked out the window at the mountain ridge beyond, at the aspens turning gold in the October sun. "Because of where the light falls?" Bill blinked. "Excuse me, come here." Jake gestured to the corner where the stove sat. "Stand right here around 4:30 in the afternoon." Bill checked his watch. 4:15. He sighed the sigh of inspectors everywhere but walked over. They stood together in silence as the sun crawled across the sky. Then it happened. At exactly 4:28, golden light poured through the western window, hitting the corner where the stove sat, flooding that space with warmth and radiance that seemed almost holy. "Okay," Bill said slowly, "that's pretty. But pretty doesn't keep you warm at 2 in the morning when it's 15 below. It's not about pretty," Jake said. "It's about my wife." Bill's expression softened slightly. "Didn't know you were married." "I'm not, yet." Jake pulled out his phone, showed a photo of a young woman with auburn hair and a smile that could melt glaciers. "Emma, we've been together 6 years. She's a painter, a real one, gallery shows in Denver and Santa Fe. She's giving up her studio apartment in the city to move up here with me. Everyone thinks she's crazy. Mountain life's not for everyone," Bill said carefully. "That's what her family keeps saying, what her friends keep saying." Jake's voice roughened. "And they're probably right. She's a city girl, loves coffee shops and art galleries and restaurants that serve food you can't pronounce, but she loves me more, says she wants to try. I just keep thinking about what happens when the reality hits. When it's February and we've been snowed in for a week and the nearest town is 40 minutes away, and she starts wondering what the hell she's done with her life." The light continued to pour through the window, painting the corner in shades of amber and gold. "She paints every afternoon," Jake continued. 4:30, like clockwork, for 2 hours? Says it's when her mind is clearest, when the light is best. In the city, she has these huge windows in her studio. Northern light in the morning, western light in the afternoon. When I was planning this cabin, I kept thinking about those windows, about how alive she looks when she's painting. He pointed to the corner. That's where her easel goes, right next to the stove. I watched the sun patterns for 2 months before I even started building, tracked exactly where the light would hit and when. This corner gets perfect western exposure from 4:30 to 6:30 every single day it's not cloudy. If the stove's here, she can paint in the warmth, in the light she loves, even when it's winter and brutal outside. Bill was quiet, looking at the corner with new eyes. "Everyone told me I was being impractical," Jake said. "That I should be logical, efficient, think about heat distribution and building codes. And they're right, technically this is wrong. But I kept thinking, what's the point of building something perfect if the person you love is miserable in it? What good is efficiency if it costs her the one thing that makes her feel like herself?" "So you built the whole cabin around one corner," Bill said slowly. "Around 2 hours of light. Around giving her a reason to stay," Jake corrected. around showing her that this life, this place, it doesn't mean giving up who she is. It means I see who she is and I built our home around it. Bill set down his clipboard. He walked the perimeter of the room, checking angles, studying the windows, the layout, the way Jake had designed everything. The kitchen faced east for morning sun. The reading nook caught afternoon light. The bedroom had views of the sunrise over the ridge. You planned all of this, Bill said. Every window, every angle, every single one. The stove's in the wrong place for heat distribution, but it's in the right place for Emma. Bill picked up his clipboard, made some notes, then looked up. You're gonna need some fans for air circulation. And that far wall's gonna be cooler, so you'll want extra insulation. Maybe a secondary heat source. I can do that, and I am gonna need you to submit revised heating plans showing how you'll address the temperature differentials. Yes, sir. Bill signed the inspection form, then extended his hand. 27 years I've been doing this job. I've seen mansions that feel like prisons and shacks that feel like homes. You know what makes the difference? It's not the stove placement, he gripped Jake's hand firmly. It's building for love instead of logic. 3 weeks later, Emma arrived with her paints, her canvases, and her doubts. Jake led her into the finished cabin as the afternoon light was beginning to slant through the windows. He'd said nothing about the corner, just asked her to wait. At 4:30, the light came. It flooded the corner in gold, illuminating the easel he'd built from reclaimed pine, the storage he'd crafted for her supplies, the wood stove radiating gentle warmth. Emma stood frozen, her hand over her mouth. "You built this for me," she whispered. "You built our whole home around my light." "Around you," Jake corrected. "Everything around you." She turned to him with tears streaming down her face. "Everyone said I was giving things up to come here. But you gave me everything." That winter, when the snow came and the wind howled and the temperature dropped below zero, Emma painted every afternoon in her golden corner by the warmth of the stove. Sometimes she painted the mountains. Sometimes she painted abstract swirls of color. Sometimes she just sat there with Jake, watching the light change, feeling more at home than she'd ever felt in the city. And yes, the far side of the room was cooler. Yes, they needed fans and extra blankets, and Bill had been right about everything. But Emma stayed and thrived. And that made it the smartest stove placement in the history of mountain cabins.